Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are located. First and foremost, Happy New Year to each and every one of you and your friends and family. Let me first introduce myself. For those of you that have joined my previous webinars, my name is Jim Marini, proudly today's presenter. And we got some great, exciting, hot itineraries and rail vacations in store for you today. But first and foremost, as always, I want to introduce something exciting in the top left-hand corner of this picture. And it's not actually my picture, everyone. It's the fact that I will be giving away a $100 Amtrak Vacations gift card to one lucky person at the end of today's presentation, which I promise to try to keep as short and sweet as possible. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. Also want to mention we have a great exclusive discount just as a way of saying thank you to each of you for attending today's presentation. As always, any of these exciting rail vacations can be booked through your local travel agent. Certainly you can contact Amtrak Vacations. Our number is listed in the bottom right-hand corner, as well as our website on the left-hand corner as well. So without further ado, everybody, again, we appreciate your time. So why Amtrak Vacations? Now, hopefully many of you have had the pleasure of traveling on board Amtrak. And here at Amtrak Vacations, we have the ability and the opportunity to not only take care of your rail travel, but also your hotel, your meals, your sightseeing tours. We basically can customize any trip for you to be as long or as short as you would like. So keep that in mind as I go through today's presentation. But what were the reasons why thousands of people travel with Amtrak Vacations? Well, the first off, it's a bucket list experience, and hopefully for some of you it is as well. We hear that from so many of our travelers. It's something they've dreamed about for years. They've wanted to experience traveling by rail throughout the United States. And I always say there's so much beauty around the world, but there's so much right here in the U.S. or even within North America, even up into Canada. Also, room to roam. We want you to get up, walk around, everyone, stretch your legs, go to the observation car, go to the dining car or the snack car if you'd like. Just really enjoy the experience along the journey. Also, whenever you book any of your vacations through Amtrak Vacations or certainly your local travel agent, it is less hassle. Everything now is electronic, so e-ticketing, e-documents, we make it nice and easy for each and every one of you. City-to-city service, I love using this as an example, and for those of you that have joined me on some of my previous presentations, you may have heard me say this once already, but I always use Penn Station as an example. And as I'm presenting here today, some of you may hear a little bit of an accent. I'm actually located in the New England area, but I've had the pleasure of traveling in and out of Penn Station many times throughout the years, and there really is not a better station to get in and out of New York City than Penn Station. Well, the same applies for even some of our other great cities in the United States, as well as even some of the beautiful national parks such as Glacier National Park. We really try to bring you into the heart of each of the areas. Also, satisfy your hunger. As I mentioned, there is snack cars on board, certainly some of the shorter distance train rides, but even some of the overnight journeys on board. Food is fresh, made to order. We're going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about the seating and sleeping accommodations as well as cuisine on board the train, so stay tuned for that. And last but not least, everybody, flexibility, okay? Multiple departures every day, and in some cases daily departures, certainly on the overnight long-distance routes throughout the country. And speaking of the overnight routes, or really any of the train routes throughout the United States, you know, there's over 500 destinations across America that Amtrak actually services. I always love sharing that. It always is a fun little fact that surprises many people. In fact, another little interesting fact, this past year, everyone, over 31 million people traveled on board Amtrak. Over 31 million people. And interestingly enough, and certainly for probably many of you, they're not all of the travelers who only want to go on the train. They'll fly to the starting point or fly home at the end or fly one way and then take the train back at the end or vice versa. So you have that flexibility to start and or end your journey wherever you would like. So keep that in mind. Some other little fun trivia, everyone. Amtrak actually travels to 46 out of the 48 contiguous states within the United States, with the exception of South Dakota and Wyoming. So a little something fun for you as well. So as I mentioned, you can choose to start your rail vacation at any of the different 500 Amtrak stations throughout the country, or, as I mentioned, you can certainly fly to and or from any of these great cities or national parks in the United States. And as I mentioned at the beginning, your travel agent can certainly help you with any of those air accommodations, or certainly you have that opportunity on your own. Now, I mentioned national parks, everyone, so what's hot for 2017? Probably no surprise to many of you. It is the national park. So you're going to hear a good portion of today's presentation on some of our most popular national parks packages that we have, but I did want to talk just for a minute or two about the different types of rail vacations, the different types of products that we have. Our most popular is our independent journeys, and basically those are rail vacations, everyone, that are anywhere from 5 to 7 up to 10 or 12 days in length. They're multiple cities. It gives you a little more at leisure, a little more flexibility to kind of come and go as you would like. Hop on, hop off style tours, so you can kind of, again, pick and choose what time you want to start and end. We also have family adventures. I'm going to share with you in a little bit just about my family adventure. I've had the pleasure of going on rail vacations the last few years with my family. We have rail and sail vacations, which I'll touch on at the very end. We have 3, 4, and 5-day rail getaways. And last but certainly not least, national parks. Now, for many of you on today's call, I'm sure you may be aware, in 2016 it was the 100th anniversary of the national parks. However, this year they're anticipating travel to the national parks is going to be the biggest and the best and most popular it's ever been. And there really isn't a better time to go there. So let's move right into what's hot for 2017. So the first one also happens to be one of our top 3 most popular rail vacations in all of the United States, everyone. This is Glacier National Park Express. Now, as I go through today's presentation, I want you to keep something in mind, and that is the beautiful city of Chicago. Many of these great national parks packages, or really any of our great, exciting, hot rail vacations, many of them start and or end in this great city. So if you take a look here at the map, you'll see we spend 2 nights in Chicago, and if you look, the little round number with the number 2, that just lets you know we overnight in Chicago for 2 days. So now for some of you that might be located out of the Midwest and you don't want to stay in Chicago, you just want to leave from Union Station in Chicago, again, any of these trips can be customized. So we can make this trip a couple days shorter. So this way you can just leave from Chicago if you choose. But for those of you, and even myself being included, who are located in other parts of the United States and you want to spend time in this great city, well, this trip offers 2 nights. And the nice thing about this trip, as well as many of the rail vacations I'm going to highlight, this is one of our many independent rail vacations. So what that means is not only do we have multiple departures, but you also have many choices as far as what style hotels you would like to stay at in each of these great locations. So, for instance, when we're in Chicago, you get to choose between Marriott, the Westin right on Michigan Avenue. We use the Palmer House Hotel. We have Holiday Inn. Many, many different choices. And hotels range anywhere from 3-star, which is, more of a budget style, inexpensive, up to 5-star. So again, you get to choose. Now, as you can see here, we do travel overnight on board the train. Certainly one of the other reasons why this trip is so popular. We travel on what's known as the Empire Builder, which leaves right out of Union Station for an overnight journey out to the beautiful Glacier National Park. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this trip, everyone, which is probably no surprise why it's so hot for 2017 and pretty much is always hot every year, is it is a seasonal national park. So what does that mean, everyone? What that means is it only starts operating at the end of May only until the beginning of September. So pretty much you have the end of May, June, July, August, and the beginning of September to travel to this beautiful national park. That's it. This trip doesn't operate, as far as this package, other than those times of the year. So if you're thinking of going to Glacier National Park, everyone, this is the time to do it. So keep that in mind. As you can see, we do spend 3 nights in this beautiful national park before hopping on board, again, the Empire Builder for an overnight journey out to Seattle for the remainder of this rail vacation. Now, I can tell you firsthand, we see a lot of our travelers at the end of this trip. Many of them sometimes will head out on an Alaska cruise. So some of you may want to consider doing that, and we can take care of that for you, or certainly your local travel agent. You might even want to head up north into the beautiful Canadian Rockies, or maybe even head south down the beautiful Pacific Northwest or California. So again, any of these trips can be customized to be as long or as short as you would like. Now, as I mentioned, we do start out in the great city of Chicago. I want to, first of all, congratulate the Chicago Cubs, if any of you are a Chicago Cubs fan, for winning the World Series after, what, over 100 years. Pretty amazing. As you can see, we do include a sightseeing architecture cruise of the Chicago Harbor. And Chicago, for me personally, I have to say, is probably one of my top 3 favorite cities in the United States, especially when you're on Michigan Avenue, known for its deep dish pizza, Chicago Cubs, as I mentioned, just so much to see and do. Of course, the real highlight of this trip is the beautiful Glacier National Park. Now, the majority of this national park, everyone, is located in the beautiful state of Montana. As I mentioned, it is a seasonal national park. So it only operates from the end of May through the beginning of September. They estimate there's over 1 million acres in Glacier National Park. And then before you know it, after our next overnight journey, it's out to the great city of Seattle, home for the Seattle Space Needle, as you can see there in the top left-hand corner, and also home of some of our famous, iconic, really coffee shops such as Starbucks, dating back to 1971. Now you'll see we also include a multi-day sightseeing, hop-on, hop-off city tour. So again, that goes with what I mentioned earlier of having that flexibility to kind of come and go as you would like in each of these great cities. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when we overnight from Chicago to Glacier National Park, and then when we overnight again on the train from Glacier National Park out to Seattle, pricing is always based in coach seating, which is the main seating. However, we offer the optional upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom. And I'll tell you, everyone, you're going to hear about today's promotion, which is probably one of the best that we've ever offered. Again, hopefully some of you have joined myself. I've seen a lot of comments. Hi, Jim. Good to have you back. Thank you, everyone. I've been doing this probably going on about 2 years now, and I just absolutely love doing these presentations. My wife, I think she's heard many different presentations over the years as well. So this is a great package, everyone. Again, just a good amount of time, starting in the great city of Chicago, ending in Seattle. So again, how do you get to Chicago, everyone? It's totally up to you. We can make arrangements for you to travel by rail from your local Amtrak station out to Chicago, where then you can join the tour and then fly home if you choose on your own, or if your local travel agent helps you, or you can fly round trip and then just do the trip in between Chicago to Seattle. However you would like to do it, you have lots of options. And speaking of options and speaking of national parks, we're going to continue with our next national parks. This is our Grand Canyon Explorer. Now, the difference with this national park, everyone, compared to Glacier, is this is a year-round national park. So again, for those of you, myself included, that are located in certain areas of the U.S. or the world, rather, where it gets cooler during the months of, say, January, February, March, or even later in the year, you may want to consider this great package, Grand Canyon Explorer, featuring these great areas, starting out with Albuquerque, moving into the great area of Santa Fe, where we will have a sightseeing tour. And again, this, just like many of the trips that I'm highlighting here today, are part of our independent rail vacation series. Now, this one, as you saw at the beginning, does feature really the world-famous Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon actually is considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the world. Now, one thing that I think is really special about this trip, or really any of our Grand Canyon packages, is we combine our rail vacations with the Grand Canyon Railway. And for those of you who may not be as familiar with the Grand Canyon Railway, it is a authentic, rustic, great train ride that will take each and every one of you from Williams into the Grand Canyon. Now, the train ride itself from Williams to the Grand Canyon is only about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Actually a short ride. Don't be surprised if there's a gun battle along the way from the Wild West days. It is a lot of fun. We actually also include a motor coach rim tour with lunch as well, so definitely keep that in mind. We also include the great area of Flagstaff and Sedona. Now, I had the chance of doing this myself when I was there, and it's definitely a great experience to go on a Jeep tour through Sedona. Sedona, the rocks, they're red, orange, yellow, all different colors. Just a great, great itinerary, everyone. This trip itself, 9 days, 8 nights. But again, for those of you who want to go to the Grand Canyon, and maybe you just want to go for 5 days or 7 days, rest assured and be ready to know that we have actually over 20 different versions, variations of Grand Canyon packages. Again, this one happens to be one of our more popular packages, okay, from rail being included on the Grand Canyon Railway to a motor coach rim tour to 8 nights in hotel accommodations. Just a great, great package altogether. Now, for those of you, as I mentioned, that might want a package a little smaller, here's one to consider. This is our Rails to the Grand Canyon. Now, this one is just a nice getaway trip. And as you can see by the map, everyone, on the map, you'll notice it's round trip from Los Angeles. Now, we travel on the Southwest Chief. As you can see, it is an overnight train from Los Angeles out to Williams, where then we get transferred to the beautiful Grand Canyon. Now, as I mentioned earlier, because this, among many of these rail vacations that I'm highlighting here today, are part of our getaways and independent rail vacations, again, you get to choose the different style hotel accommodations or lodges. So one thing I want to mention, and it's not only Grand Canyon, everyone, it's Glacier National Park, it's Yellowstone, Yosemite. Most of the time, we are able to get space inside of the parks, inside the lodges. And our feeling is if you're going to travel to the beautiful national parks, any of the national parks, you really want to try to be inside the national park. So as an example, El Tovar is one of our most popular lodges that we use. And again, we have many different choices that you could take advantage of. One thing I will share with everyone, especially about the Grand Canyon, space does fill up very, very fast. I can't tell you how many times people will call or and try to have space, but they're calling maybe 2 or 3 months before when they want to travel. If you know this is an area you want to go to, definitely give us a call or contact your local travel agent so we can make sure to get you inside of those lodges, inside of the beautiful national parks. Take a look, though, everyone. Isn't this spectacular? You know, they estimate there's over 5 million people that visit the Grand Canyon every year. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely breathtaking. They also estimate it is, as I mentioned, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and it is absolutely spectacular. This trip itself, everyone, 5 days, 4 nights. As I mentioned, it is round trip from Los Angeles. So again, some of you may want to fly round trip into Los Angeles and then just go on a nice 5-day, 4-night getaway to Los Angeles, out to the Grand Canyon from Los Angeles. Others of you may want to even travel along the California coast and include this as part of your rail vacation. Again, any of these trips can be extended or customized. Now, speaking of the great city of Chicago, I got to share with all of you, this is actually not only one of the hottest tours, but one of our newest rail vacations that we've just come out with, and this is doing absolutely tremendous. Take a look at this, everyone. As you can see, it is round trip from Chicago, but what's great about this rail vacation, everyone, is it's not only Yellowstone, but it also includes Yosemite and the Grand Canyon. So you actually have 3 amazing national parks all in one package itself. Now, I had the pleasure, everyone, of traveling on the California Zephyr, which goes from Chicago out to Emeryville, which is located right outside San Francisco. So that would be the train that you would travel on during the first portion of the trip, out to Salt Lake City, where you can see you spend a night at a local hotel. Again, you get to choose, before traveling north to Yellowstone National Park. Now, when we do travel to Yellowstone National Park, everyone, that is actually by motor coach. So the train itself does not physically go up into Yellowstone, But of course, it's such an iconic site in the United States, we have to include it. So it is included on this package. Now you'll see there's many different overnights on board the train. So really, to me, this is the best combination of both rail and national park. So for those of you that want that true Amtrak rail experience and you also want to experience the beautiful national parks, this is the package for each of you to consider, because not only is it on the California Zephyr, but we also include the Coast Starlight. We're also including, of course, Southwest Chief as well. So definitely keep this package in mind. And as I mentioned, we do go to Yellowstone National Park. So when we are there, we will have a sightseeing tour included along the lower loop. We do also head out to Yosemite National Park, where again, another sightseeing tour is included. And again, this is one of our independent trips, so you have some flexibility along your journey as well. As I mentioned, it does include the Grand Canyon. So again, 3 amazing national parks in one package. Now again, pricing on all of these independent rail vacations on the rail portion is based in coach seating. However, we offer the option for each of you to upgrade to a sleeper, either a roomette or a bedroom, which I could tell you firsthand, and hopefully some of you have had that opportunity of traveling overnight on board Amtrak. We highly, highly recommend to always consider upgrading to either a roomette or a bedroom. It will just add to your overall experience. And again, at the end of today's presentation, I think you're going to be excited to hear just how exciting the special is, just for taking the time to attend today's presentation. Now, the last national parks that I will highlight is actually one of our 2 escorted packages. As I mentioned, most of our rail vacations are independent, meaning they travel daily. You have a choice of where you want to stay at each of the cities or within the national parks. But for those of you that are on today's call who want something a little more structured and you don't want to worry about where to go, what to do, you want to have the comfort of having a tour guide from Amtrak Vacations with you from the time you arrive in Seattle all the way until the time you leave in Salt Lake City. You want to know that you are already in a roomette, okay, from Seattle to Glacier, which would be an overnight trip. Then you may want to consider one of our 2 escorted packages. This happens to be our most popular escorted package that we have, because this is a unique combination of both rail and motor coach. So as you can see, if you look at the map, everyone, we start in Seattle, where we spend one night. And again, how you get there is totally up to you. We can fly you, or certainly you have the ability to fly either on your own or through your local travel agent to Seattle and home from Salt Lake City. Or, again, we can make arrangements for you at your local Amtrak station to travel up to Seattle, where then you join on the tour and then travel back home from Salt Lake City. But from Seattle to Glacier National Park, everyone, it is an overnight train. So anytime you see the number 1 in the red triangle, that's letting you know you're traveling overnight on board the Empire Builder in this case. And then when we leave Glacier National Park after spending 2 magnificent nights there, we board a motor coach, everyone. And that's when we travel south down into Yellowstone, Jackson Hole, before ending in Salt Lake City. Now, as I mentioned, it does start out in the great city of Seattle. So we will have a chance to spend some time here. And such a great city, too, everyone. For those of you that have not had a chance to go there, many of the upcoming bands, rock and roll bands, have made their starts here. Home of Jimi Hendrix as well, for those of you familiar with him. And, of course, so many other great, well-known folks. Now, Glacier National Park, as I mentioned, we do spend 2 nights here. Now, because it's an escorted trip, is more of a group departure, which means typically on an average we'll have 20 to 30 people per departure. And usually we offer these escorted trips. Typically they're not daily departures. Typically they depart 1 to 2 times per week. So definitely more limited in space. And of course, if we're talking Glacier National Park, as I mentioned at the beginning, this park and these trips only operate the end of May through the beginning of September. Now, once we get off the train and we spend time in Glacier National Park, we then, as I mentioned, reboard, except on a motor coach bus, where we travel south down into Yellowstone National Park, featuring Jackson Hole as well as the Grand Tetons, before ending in Salt Lake City. Just a great trip, everyone. This Escorted package is 10 days, 9 nights. Now, unlike all the other independent rail vacations, which you can customize, you can choose between hotels, you can add extra sightseeing or meals, this trip is a little more structured, right? So it's more already designed in place. There's a tour guide with you, again, from the time you start in Seattle until the time you end in Salt Lake City. You're already in a roomette. So again, for those of you who just want to experience the rail, experience a great trip, and have the comfort of a tour guide and most meals being included, as you can see, this one has 15 meals included, then this would be a trip to consider. Now, keeping with the beautiful parks, we're going to travel north for a minute, everyone, and we're going to travel over the border to the Canadian Rockies. Look at this one, everyone. This one, as you can see, also starts in Seattle, but instead of heading east out to Glacier National Park, we actually head north. We cross the border, everyone, and we arrive in Vancouver, where we spend a few nights. We actually take a day trip out to the beautiful Vancouver Island, otherwise known for Victoria. And then from there, we travel overnight on board Via Rail. Now, Via Rail, everyone, is the national train of Canada. So our feeling is, what a better way to experience two great countries than also experiencing two of the national rail services. And this one is no different, because you can not only get the Amtrak experience, but you also have the Via Rail experience, and then the beautiful, beautiful parks of Jasper, Banff, before ending in Calgary. So as I move through the itinerary, as I mentioned, it does start in Seattle. It does travel north to Vancouver. Now, this is a great short little train ride, and I'll tell you, we hear so many people that just rave about the beauty. Just even during this short little train ride, 3 to 4 hours from Seattle to Vancouver, where we also take a day trip out to Victoria. Now, some of you may have experienced this already, but at the Fairmont Empress, they offer an afternoon tea, so very popular tradition. And then it's the beautiful parks of the Canadian Rockies, starting out with Jasper National Park. Now, the Canadian Rockies, everyone, similar to Glacier National Park, again, it's going to be more seasonal. So if this is a rail vacation that you're interested in, definitely keep in mind the months of May through September, because this is the type of scenery that just waits for you. Look at how beautiful this is, everyone. I've had the pleasure, I've traveled all over the world, let alone just here in the United States and in Canada, and I have to say the Canadian Rockies to me is really, in essence, the Switzerland of North America. So if any of you have ever been to Switzerland and the beautiful snow-capped mountains, here we have the glacier water, absolutely spectacular. Banff, the town of Banff, great little area for shops, fudge factories, just absolutely spectacular. This trip itself, everyone, 11 days, 10 nights, 9 nights hotel accommodations. Again, we do overnight on board Via Rail. So again, how you get to Seattle is however you would like. You have that option to get to Seattle and then home from Calgary, either by flying to each of those great cities, or again, we can help you with your arrangements traveling by rail. Now, if we dip back into the United States, just for a last couple exciting hot rail vacations, this is one certainly not to miss out on for those of you that want to stay more local in the U.S. and maybe experience some of the beautiful South, and for those of you who love music, how about our jazz, blues, and rock and roll, everyone? 2 nights in Chicago with an overnight on board the train. The train is known as City of New Orleans, where we spend 2 nights in Memphis and then travel throughout the day down into New Orleans for the last 3 nights of this trip. Now, some of our travelers, many times, at the end of this trip will even extend it and travel out to the Caribbean if you choose on a cruise line. So, again, you have that ability. As I mentioned before, because this is one of our many independent rail vacations, pricing from Chicago to Memphis when we travel overnight on board the train is priced in coach seating. However, again, we offer the option to upgrade to a roomette or a bedroom, which is very inexpensive. So keep that in mind. It's very affordable. Now, Chicago, I want to point out one area with this, and it's on the left-hand corner, everyone, right under the title of Chicago, and that is a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour. I have to say, everyone, and I've traveled on many of our different rail vacations, having a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour included is such a great value, everyone, because it's a nice way to get in and around the city without having to rent a car or get Uber, right? It's a nice way to get you in and around the city, especially to all the major attractions. But the beautiful part is, everyone, you're on your schedule. You get to decide what time you want to start and what time you want to end. Typically, our hop-on, hop-off tours are anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, okay? And you can go anytime you'd like in between. And I talked about how my family and I, we've traveled to New York City together. Most recently, we traveled to Washington, D.C. together. And I have to say, having that hop-on, hop-off tour was so, so exciting, and the kids loved it. And certainly yourselves, your family, your friends would love it as well. Now, Memphis, we do include a platinum tour of Graceland, of course, home to Elvis Presley. And, you know, Memphis, there's just so much great music here. So really, this is just an awesome, awesome trip to consider. And then ending in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans, of course, is known for its delicious Cajun-style food, jambalaya, all right, beignets, if any of you have experienced this great city. I was just sharing the story recently with some of my friends that when I was in New Orleans, too, I'm the type of traveler, and some of you may be similar, I love to experience the local cuisine wherever I am, whether it's in great cities such as New Orleans or it's traveling abroad internationally or even right over the border in Canada. I like to experience the local cuisine. So when I was in New Orleans, of course, having the cafe au latte and beignets, which is it's almost like a fried dough with powder and sugar on top, absolutely delicious. I also had, believe it or not, alligator, and it was really good, everyone. Turtle soup, believe it or not, okay? Shrimp and grits. I mean, there's so many unique type of flavors that they have in this magnificent city. In fact, many of our famous chefs today, even on TV, many of them got their start or certainly spent time in the great city of New Orleans, because what you'll learn when you're there, certainly for those of you interested in this great package, is the strong influence of Spanish and French, not only within its architecture, but also its cuisine. So keep this trip in mind, 9 days, 8 nights. And again, for those of you that like any of these trips, but maybe you want trips a little bit shorter, chances are we already have packages that are a little bit shorter, or, again, you can customize any of them that you would like. So definitely keep that in mind. In the last couple that I'll highlight, Northern Rail Experience, this one we came out with about 2 years ago, and it continues to be one of our hottest, most popular tours, certainly for those of you on today's call and today's presentation who want really more of that true rail experience. Well, wait no further, everyone, because this one not only includes the Empire Builder from Chicago to Seattle, it not only includes the Coast Starlight from Seattle down to San Francisco, but it also includes the California Zephyr from San Francisco back to Chicago. So as you can see, it is round trip from Chicago. So again, some of you may want to fly to and from this great city. Others of you may want to just travel by rail, and we can help you do that to get to and or from this great city. But this is truly not only about the great cities of Seattle, okay? Not only about the great cities of San Francisco, but this is truly about the rail experience. So again, for those of you who want really more of that rail experience as well as some great cities along the journey, then keep in mind our Northern Rail Experience. 9 days, 8 nights. Again, also including hop-on, hop-off tours. Everyone, that is a great value. I will mention, too, on any of our packages, we do offer the option to also rent a car. So definitely keep that in mind. So you do have that option if you wanted to extend your trip before or after or even during, you have that option. We truly, when it comes to Amtrak vacations, everyone, and hopefully many of you have had the opportunity to travel with us, we truly are your one-stop shop. From rail to hotels to meals to Broadway shows in New York City, you name it, chances are we have it available. And this is the last one I'm going to highlight, even cruises, everyone. We can take care of all of this for you. Now, we partner with the great cruise lines of Norwegian, as well as Celebrity, and in the process of finalizing a partnership with Princess Cruises, all to the beautiful area of Alaska. So here's one I did want to feature and highlight. Here's a 7-day Sawyer Glacier cruise on the Jewel, the Norwegian Jewel, with 1 night in Seattle. So we definitely, of course, want to include some type of rail experience, so you have that opportunity to travel by rail on your own if you would choose to this great city of Seattle, where then we board the cruise ship and we travel out to some of the great areas such as Ketchikan, and then from there over into Juneau. You know, it's interesting. Juneau is actually the only capital in the United States that is not accessible by road. So you can only get to this capital, everyone, by flying or by cruising or on a ship. So pretty interesting. It's home to about 30,000 residents, and it is the capital of Alaska. Now, what does this mean, everyone? Traveling to Victoria, located in Vancouver Island, yes, you will need a passport, and you will need a passport for those of you that are interested in the Canadian Rockies package as well, because we are in Canada. And for those of you who may be curious about passports, passports are typically good for 10 years, okay? So if you get a new one or you get one renewed, it is good for 10 years. But yes, you would need a passport, whether it's our Canadian Rockies package or even here on our Alaska package, because we do stop in the great area of Victoria. This trip itself, everyone, 11 days, okay, 10 nights, and it does include a portion, a good portion of it, on the Norwegian Jewel. So this is a great rail, a true rail and sail package. So definitely keep this in mind. And Alaska, I will say, is also seasonal. So it only operates from the end of May through the beginning of September. Now, the last portion of today's presentation, before we talk about some great, exciting discounts that are available to each and every one of you, as well as today's winner, let me just highlight the onboard accommodations with Amtrak. Now, take a look, everyone, at this next picture. I love showing this picture. By the way, there's no bad seat when it comes to traveling on board Amtrak. There's no middle seat, everybody. 2 seats on one side, 2 seats on another. There's no middle seat. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But take a look at this picture, everyone. Look at the leg room that you have even in coach accommodations. So even for those of you traveling on board Amtrak within any of our packages, even if it's during the day, this is the type of leg room that you will have, everyone. Lots of leg room. In many of the major cities, there is wireless available, lots of space above the overhead for your carry-on bags. They do have a section at the beginning and the back of each of the train cars to store your carry-on bags or your luggage if you choose. And I know I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I do want to mention to upgrade from a coach seat to a roomette, okay, which is our first level of sleeper accommodations. Very, very affordable. Many times it ranges anywhere from only $100 to $200 extra per person to go from a coach seat, as I just showed you, to now a roomette. So let me just talk about the roomette for a minute. Roomette for us is by far our most popular category of any of our sleepers, everyone. And it's also the most affordable, as I mentioned. Again, very, very inexpensive. But here's the beautiful part, everyone. Not only do you have your own private accommodations, as you can see here, okay, it does fit up to 2 people. The chairs do face each other during the day. A table can fold down if you choose to maybe watch a movie on your iPad or play cards, as you can see here. And then in the evening, everyone, the 2 chairs fold down to make the lower bed. And above the window, which you can't see here, is actually the bunk bed. So it is a bunk bed style accommodation. As you can see, many of our packages, typically it's one night or multiple nights throughout the tour, not necessarily consecutively, unless you would like that, which can also be possible on any of our packages. But definitely by far our most popular. But one thing to keep in mind with roomettes is we have what we call a private yet shared bathroom and shower. So what does that mean, everyone? What that means is the bathroom and shower, the toilet and the shower, is not inside of your roomette. However, they are in the same sleeper car as all the other people staying in roomettes and bedrooms. And typically on an average, there's about 10 to 12 roomettes and 4 to 6 bedrooms per sleeper car. And on an average, there's 2 to 3 toilets and 2 to 3 showers, which is only accessible by people, by each and every one of you who are staying in either a roomette or a bedroom. Okay, so the only people that have access to those toilets and showers are the people in that one same sleeper car on board the train. Now, for those of you who definitely want your own private bathroom, your own private toilet and shower inside of your room, then of course you'd want to consider upgrading one more level to a bedroom. Now, bedrooms typically fit 2 adults, 1 child. They are, of course, a little bit bigger in size than a roomette, but again, it's a little more expensive, and these are even more limited. So whether it's roomette or a bedroom, definitely let us know, give us a call, or certainly contact your local travel agent, and we will help you with those arrangements. However, whatever you choose, everyone, rest assured, it's going to be comfortable. Really, traveling by train, it's part of the whole experience, isn't it? And speaking of experience, how about dining on the train? You know, I've had the pleasure, as I've mentioned, of traveling throughout the country on many of the overnight distance routes that we offer within all of our packages. As I mentioned, whenever any of you upgrade to a roomette or a bedroom, you not only have your own private accommodations, everyone, but you get all your meals included on board the train. So that is a big highlight I want to mention today, and that is any of you that upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom for any of the overnight train rides, you will have all your meals included during the overnight portion of the train. So for instance, from Chicago out to Glacier National Park, if there's dinner that's offered, breakfast and lunch, whatever meals are offered during your overnight journey, you will get all of those meals included at no extra charge. Food, as I mentioned, is fresh, made to order. There is a waiter and waitress on board. There's a private chef as well. Now, in the mornings, as well as lunch and evenings, there's a menu style. So you get to order off the menu, everyone. Now, the only items not included would be alcohol. Of course, that's at your own discretion, and tips and gratuities for the staff. That also is up to you, whatever you would like to do. As you can see, white tablecloth, full sit-down meals. And when you are in either a roomette or a bedroom, you also get first choice as to what time you would like to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So definitely keep that in mind. In meals, as you can see, you know, you have choices anywhere from omelets to eggs to waffles, pancakes in the morning, to cheeseburgers, turkey clubs in lunchtime, to salads, or pasta, or steak, or fish in the evening. Again, many different options available to you. And again, if you're in a roomette or bedroom, not only do you have your own private accommodations, but you also get first choice as to what time you would like to dine. Now, to view any of these exciting packages that I highlighted, or certainly any others, everyone, check out our website. That's AmtrakVacations.com. Again, it's all one word, AmtrakVacations.com. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we not only can take care of the rail, but also the hotels, the meals, the sightseeing tours, as much or as little within our packages as you would like. And how do you book any of these great packages? Well, I can tell you firsthand, everyone, our agents are here waiting for each and every one of you to give us a call. And I think after I tell you our exciting special that we're offering, the phones may be ringing a little bit more, because this is probably one of the best offers that we've done in a long time. And that number, everyone, feel free to write it down on the left-hand side. That's 1-800-AMTRAK2, otherwise 1-800-268-7252. As I mentioned, you can certainly visit our website or contact your local travel agent as well. Now, something special before I tell you about today's promotion is what we refer to as our everyday discount. So take a look at this picture just for a minute, everyone, okay? And hopefully many of you qualify for these different types of discounts. Now, one thing I will mention is it only qualifies for one discount per person. So in other words, if you are a AAA member and you also happen to be over the age of 62, then you would only qualify for one, and what we do is we give you the biggest discount. So in that case, we would give you the 15% discount, and that's on the rail portion of your packages, okay? So not the entire package, just the rail portion. However, this is on top of the extra special discount that I'm going to be announcing in just a minute. So take a look, everyone. You've heard me mention I've traveled on multiple rail vacations with my family. If you look at what it is for children, you can see why. All my children are between those ages, everyone, 2 to 12. because I only have to pay 50% of the cost on the rail portion. And for those of you that are military, first and foremost, thank you for your service, or certainly retired military. We really appreciate it. You also can get a 10% discount. So definitely see which one or ones apply. And again, only one can qualify per person, only one pertains per person, but it's always the largest one on the rail portion. Okay, so keep that in mind. So without any further ado, everyone, let me just mention real quick our exclusive attendee discount. So if you have a pen and paper, everyone, I encourage you to please write this down, because I'll tell you, this is probably one of the best incentives we've ever done. And the reason why being, everyone, it qualifies for any package that you book with Amtrak Vacations by January 13th of this year. And in other words, any one of our packages that we have, if you upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom, okay, during your overnight journey on board the train, we're going to offer $100 off per couple on our existing rate. So whatever the rate is as of right now, okay, to travel overnight in either a roomette or a bedroom on any of our packages, we're going to take $100 off per couple, otherwise $50 off per person, as long as you upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom. Now, the important thing to keep in mind, everyone, this applies to new reservations only, okay, so it's only new bookings, okay, and also the promo code, if you look in the middle of the screen, if you want to write that down, everyone, if you don't mind, and that is Webinar EXP, Webinar EXP. That is the code that you would need to just let any of our agents know, or certainly your local travel agent. So this incentive applies regardless if you call us or you contact your local travel agent who can help you with these reservations. That promo code applies regardless, okay, which is a great, great value. But it expires January 13th. Now, this is for travel anytime in 2017. So all you need to do is just book with a small deposit by January 13th to travel anytime this year, and we will take off $100 per couple if you upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom, which, as I've mentioned, we highly, highly encourage any of you to do, especially if you're traveling overnight on board the train, okay? So with that in mind, everybody, I see we have a ton of questions, and I'll tell you, as always, I like to save time at the end, and we have some time, which is good. So I want to mention that, okay, that I'm going to open it up to questions. But before I do, first and foremost, if you look on the left-hand side, the top left-hand corner, we do have a $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate to give out. So I got to make sure that we take time to do that. So without further ado, let me just first and foremost announce who today's winner is of our $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate, and that winner is Scott Sullivan. Scott Sullivan, congratulations. You are today's winner of our $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate to be used on any of our packages this year. So congratulations. Okay, so without further ado, everybody, I see we still have a lot of questions. So I'm going to start answering the questions, or certainly do my best. And as I'm going through, everyone, feel free, if you have any additional questions, there's a question box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Feel free to type those away. And again, I'll do my very best to answer as many of them as I can. Okay, so just want to make sure you're good to go. Question from Mary: can you accommodate vegans or any special dietary requests? Great question, Mary. Yes, absolutely. So any of you that have any special dietary requests, just let any of our agents know, or certainly a local travel agent, and we'll put that note in the booking and make sure that you are good to go. Okay, so just want to make sure we're all set. Okay, next question. Let's see. Actually, it's more of a comment. Thank you, Scott. The historic station in Seattle is remodeled and is absolutely beautiful. Yes, I have not personally been there myself, Scott, but I will say I know a lot of our travelers have, and have certainly raved about it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Okay, moving along, and again, very good questions, everyone. We have certainly a lot of questions coming in. Next question from Brittany: can your guests start the Grand national parks itinerary in Los Angeles or San Francisco rather than Chicago? Great question, Brittany. Yes, absolutely they can. In fact, again, just a reminder, any of these trips can be customized to start and or end wherever you would like. But to answer your question, Brittany, we do actually have that option on the Grand National Parks already to start in either of those cities. So definitely give us a call or certainly contact your local travel agent. Okay, so thank you very much. Let's see. Next question from Mitch. Can you round trip on loop trips from other cities? Great question, Mitch. Yes, any city can be a round trip city. So let me just say that. So we can start and or end you in the same city, or start you in one city and end you in another, and of course be able to take care of your hotel, meals, sightseeing, pretty much whatever you need along your journey. We can help you with that as well. Okay, so definitely keep that in mind. But thank you very much. Good question. Okay, next question from Robert. How accurate are the times for departure and arrival stations? I hear some trains don't always run on time due to the freight trains. Great question, Robert. You know, this is something I'm proud to share with all of you. A few years back, that sometimes was a challenge in certain areas of the United States, but one of the things that I really have to commend Amtrak for doing is really revising, relooking, and reworking the times of the trains. So then this way we could avoid that problem. So to answer your question, Robert, it really does not happen that often at all anymore, and that's a big highlight. Can it happen? Once in a while, but overall it has really not become any issue at all. So definitely something we're proud to share with everyone. Okay. Next question from Scott. In regards to the Northern Rail experience, could we start and finish in Seattle? Yes, Scott. So again, same applies for that package as well as the question that was just asked earlier from Brittany. Again, any of these packages can start and end in the same city or different cities. So instead of being round trip from Chicago, for instance, it can be round trip from Seattle, or it could be round trip from San Francisco. So you definitely have lots of options. Yep, and we can definitely help you with that. No worries at all. Okay, next question from Deborah. And these are great questions, everyone. Thank you all so much. Does Amtrak trains run through Alaska? I know there is rail service from Seward to Denali. Not sure if this is Amtrak or another provider. You know, great question, Deborah. Amtrak itself does not travel through the state of Alaska, at least not yet anyway. There are some great trains that do travel throughout the beautiful state of Alaska, and in fact, it's something we as a company are looking at possibly incorporating in the future, and that is really having the best of just a full rail experience. Just like in the Grand Canyon, right? We partner with Grand Canyon Railway to bring all of you and your friends and family to the beautiful Grand Canyon from having traveled on board Amtrak, and we're actually looking to possibly do the same in the next year or so with one of the major train companies in Alaska as well, to give really a full rail experience. So stay tuned for that. But for now, traveling to Alaska with us would be a combination of rail and sail through some of the major cruise lines that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Great question, though. Thank you. Okay, next question from Kathy. Do you get a food allowance amount for dining, or is it whatever you want on the menu? What are the dining times? Kathy, great questions. So to answer your question, you can definitely order whatever you want off the menu. So let me just say that it's pretty much a la carte. So you can pick and choose whatever you want off the menu. Again, the only items not included when it comes to dining, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, is alcohol, as well as tips and gratuities for the waiter or waitress. Now, as far as the times, on an average, I want to say, and it's pretty recent, I just went on the California Zephyr. I want to say it started anywhere from 6 to 6:30 in the morning for breakfast, went until about 8 or 8:30. Lunchtime typically started around 11:30, went until about 1:30. And then in the evenings, I want to say it was about 5 to 5:30 up until about 7:30 or so. It's usually about a 2 to 3 hour time block. And again, for any of you that are in either a roomette or a bedroom, and of course, you know, I highlighted the special promotion that we're offering. if you take advantage of upgrading to a roomette or a bedroom, you can also take advantage of having first choice as to what time you would like to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So definitely keep that in mind. But great questions, Kathy. Thank you. Okay, next question from Mitch. What about tours on other segments like Coast Starlight from Los Angeles to San Diego and a hotel in San Diego? Absolutely, Mitch. Again, today we just wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet and highlight really the itineraries that are the hottest right now, but we do in fact actually have exactly what you're looking for. You know, I always mention many times, whatever you're thinking about, if you didn't see it on today's presentation, chances are we already have a package created because, in fact, funny enough, everyone, most of our packages have actually been created by you, by our travelers. It's been feedback from our travelers saying, hey, have you thought of this, or can we do that? What about this? And once we start to hear it periodically enough, then we create packages. So I guess what I'm saying is chances are whatever any of you may be looking at, if it's not one of the trips that was highlighted here today, chances are we already have a package that goes there. Okay, great question. Next question from Catherine. What is the status of rebuilding the rail system from Florida over to New Orleans? Yes, I know, Catherine. We are anxiously awaiting ourselves. To give you an update, we're hoping in the next 1 to 2 years at the most. We're just waiting on a couple different states to give approval to rebuild some of the train stations in the areas, and once that happens, it does look very promising that that route will be up and running again, but realistically it's probably 1 to 2 years, okay? So hopefully for all of us, myself included, because I would love to do that, it will be sooner than later, but that's probably the most accurate update I can share with you at this point, okay? Great question, though. All right, let's see. From Lynn, even in the cafe, are there vegan options available? Absolutely. Again, many different meal requests that you may have, Amtrak can accommodate those. We can take care of that for you, or certainly just let your local travel agent know, and they will help you as well, okay? Charles Wade. Charles, what is the best month to do the rail sail Alaska trip? You know, same applies for Glacier National Park as it does Alaska, and that is anytime from May through September. What I will say to everyone, if you're looking for the best value, we have a saying in the travel industry. It's called shoulder season or edge season. Those are the months of, in this case, May and September, which means the pricing is going to be less expensive if you travel in May or September to Alaska, but the weather can probably be more in the 50s or 60s. However, if you want the most beautiful weather in Alaska or even Glacier or Canadian Rockies, for instance, then, of course, June, July, August, really with July and August being the two most popular, but it's also the most expensive, too. So, you know, usually rule of thumb is the more expensive a trip is, the better the weather is. So if you're like myself and you don't mind traveling a little bit in what we refer to as, I mentioned, edge season, shoulder season, then definitely keep in mind the months of May and September. But to answer your question, Charles, anytime from May through September for Alaska is a good time. Okay. Great questions. Thank you, everyone. Getting some nice comments. Appreciate it. Pricing, great question, Mike. You know, as far as pricing, you know, pricing varies depending on which itinerary and when you're looking to go. Really, the best way is feel free to, again, you can check out any of these packages online, or really the easiest. And again, our agents are right here waiting for each and every one of you, as well as our local travel agents. Give us a call. Contact your local travel agent. It'll take them a few minutes, pull it right up for you, and give you a package and a price, and give you some good options. Okay, moving along. Great questions, everyone. Let's see. Okay. Hey, you got some good ones. Okay. The upgrade cost bonus of $100, is that per night or per trip savings? Great question, Scott. So that is $100 total per couple, so $50 off per. So it's basically $50 off per person. So as an example, if the price to upgrade, let's say for an overnight train, if it's $500 to stay in a roomette, well, it's only going to be $400. So whatever the price is right now to upgrade on either a roomette or a bedroom, whatever the current price is on the rail portion, we're going to take $100 off that upgrade price. And again, Certainly for those of you that have traveled overnight on board the train, I'm sure you could agree with me on that. It really does truly give you that full value and experience when you're in a roomette or a bedroom, because again, you have that overnight experience in your own private accommodations, but you also have all your meals included during that overnight stay as well. Okay, great questions, everyone. Let's see. Okay, moving along. Let's see. What about passes that allow different segments per time period? How does that work? It's a great question, Jane. You know, they with us, what we always say is, when you have an idea where you'd like to go and when, that's the best way to plan the trip, because then we can guarantee whether you're in a roomette or a bedroom. We can guarantee hotel accommodations. Really, we can pretty much guarantee everything. If you want to try to hop on, hop off, we don't do that at Amtrak Vacations, but they also can't guarantee that they can get you on the train when you want to get on, if it's more or less hop on, hop off. Whereas with us, if you have an idea where you want to go and when, we can try to take care of that ahead of time and secure those spots for you. Okay, great question though. Okay, John, can I stay in any city that can be customized? For instance, like make it a 4-night instead of a 2, vice versa? Absolutely, John. Again, that's the beautiful part with any of these packages. Any of them can be customized. I got a question, do you have a Toronto and Niagara Falls package? Absolutely, we do. In fact, we actually have a package, and that question's from Robin, that travels from New York. It's actually a round-trip package from New York up to Niagara Falls and Toronto. But again, if you're traveling from Chicago or you're coming from another city, we can just start your trip wherever your local Amtrak station is to be able to travel up to these great Canadian cities of Toronto and Niagara Falls. So yes, Robin, we can help you with that. Absolutely. Okay, next question from Janet. I live in the upper eastern Tennessee. How can I find the nearest Amtrak station to me? Again, Janet, very easy. If it's okay, give us a call. Our number is listed right there in the middle of the screen, or certainly contact your local travel agent. It'll take them a minute or two. They'll pull it right up on the map and tell you exactly which station is the closest to you. Okay, so definitely wanted to let you know that. Let's see. Susan just got back from the auto train. Oh, great. Very popular, Susan. Yep. From Lawton, Virginia down to Florida. Dinner was 2 seatings. Yep. 5:30 or 7. So that's about right. Exactly. So, you know, usually they're going to give a 2 to 3 hour time slot in anywhere from 2 to 3 choices. It really fluctuates, depends on which routes and what they offer. But that sounds accurate. That's perfect. Thank you, Susan. Let's see. These are great questions, everyone. Next one from Laura. Roomette or sleeper room upgrades, are the cost per night per person for upgrading, or is it for the entire trip? Great question, Laura. So the cost, anytime you upgrade, so for instance from Chicago to Glacier National Park, the cost to upgrade would be that portion of the trip. So whatever the cost is from Chicago to Glacier, whatever that is, so it would be per overnight. And then you, of course, have that option again if you went from Glacier out to Seattle. So again, if you have multiple upgrades, so if you go to Roomette, say there's, for instance, on Glacier National Park Express, it's a great question, Laura. In that case, there's 2 different overnight segments on board the Empire Builder. If you were to upgrade from a coach seat to a roomette from Chicago to Glacier, and you were to also do the same from Glacier out to Seattle, upgrade from a coach to a roomette, you would get $100 off on the first overnight option and also $100 off on the second per couple, so otherwise $50. So it's per overnight. And as long as you book by January 13th of this year to travel anytime this year, if there's 2 or 3 segments, we'll qualify that special for each of the overnights. So if there's 1 overnight, then of course you'll get $100 off per couple. If it's 2 and you upgrade on both of the segments, then you'll get $100 off per couple on one and $100 off per couple on another. Again, as long as you book with a small deposit before January 13th. So again, great question. Okay, next question from John. Looks like a 2-part question. How are the mobility impaired travelers treated? Are all areas in the train accessible? Are mobility scooters allowed on board? Great questions, John. You know, I can tell you firsthand, one thing that just impresses me so much sincerely about Amtrak is how accommodating that they are to anyone who has any needs, any special requirements. To answer your question, it's very accessible. We do actually, mobility scooters are allowed as well, and they do have handicap accessible rooms on board the trains as well. They are very limited, so I could tell you firsthand if any of you may need them, they are available, which is great, and we want to help you any way we can. But certainly, just again, let us know, or certainly a local travel agent, and we'll help you any way we can. But great question, thank you. Okay, let's see. This is very, very nice. Very good questions. Thank you. All right, so next one. Let's see. There are only a few north-south routes, especially in the Midwest. What is Amtrak looking at doing to add more options for north-south travelers, for instance, from Michigan to Florida? It's a great question, WD. It's I could tell you, I think right now, there's a lot going on with Amtrak, and certainly, as I mentioned earlier, looking at the route from Florida to New Orleans. I know that's definitely something looking to happen in the next 1 to 2 years, but it has definitely come up to try to give some more options to go north and south. So it's a great point. Not sure exactly when that's going to happen. So that's also why I would almost suggest to, certainly for those of you who might be a little more challenging to travel to and from an area, that you may want to consider flying to certain cities if that is easier, and certainly also an option for you as well. So in the meantime, I think that's also why we have a lot of our travelers that will fly to and or from certain cities, just to be able to experience the rail vacations, experience Amtrak, but also travel to an area that might be a little more difficult to get to on the train, depending on where it's starting or ending. Okay, next question from Robert. Do you allow pets on trains? So, great question, Robert. They do have to be, of course, pets that are needed for any special requests. So, certainly, as long as you have a note, so to speak, that you need the pet. People wouldn't be able to just bring any pet, so it would have to be a pet for assistance. Okay, so but those pets are allowed. Okay, but again, you just would want to have documentation on that as well. You can, great question, Maureen. You can earn, certainly you can earn rewards. Okay, you can earn points when you book any of these packages with us on the rail portion as well. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, and we can help you with that. Next question from Don. How much is deposits, and what type of credit cards do you accept? So deposits, everyone, it's pretty nice. They're very minimal. They only range anywhere from $100 to $250 per person. And as far as payment, it can be any of the major credit cards, American Express, Visa, MasterCard. So definitely, and again, that can be through your local travel agent as well. So again, you have many different options also. Okay. With that in mind, everyone, I'm just going to go back real quick, okay, to the slide that I showed everyone just a minute ago, because I just think this is such a great special and a special discount that we're going to offer. And again, this is on top of our everyday discount on the rail portion, and that is, again, if any of you book with a small deposit to travel anytime this year, as long as you book by January 13th, which is coming up just around the corner, to travel anytime in 2017, as long as you upgrade to either a roomette or a bedroom on any of our rail vacations, then you will be able to save $100 off per couple. So definitely keep that in mind. We really appreciate all of you joining us, and I just want to say again, everyone, thank you sincerely very much. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation as much as I enjoyed presenting. As I mentioned, it's just about 2 years now, been doing webinars, and I love sharing all the beauty that is waiting for each and every one of you right here in the United States, as well as even over the border in Canada. So again, congratulations to Scott on winning our $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate, and we hope each of you and your friends and family travel on board soon with Amtrak Vacations. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day, and Happy New Year and happy and healthy 2017. Take care. Bye-bye.